Here are some fun real-life facts about The Long Walk by Stephen King. My name is Julia Marchesi. I'm a lifelong constant reader who has read everything Stephen King has written, so let's go. Pre-Hunger Games, pre-Battle Royale, pre-Squid Games, all this stuff. Like, this is really early, and of course he did The Running Man, which is a game show death as well. Wrote is the first novel that Stephen King ever wrote. Not the first one to be published, that would be Carrie, but the first one that he ever wrote at 19 in 1966 when he was attending the University of Maine. Now, fun fact, I directed a Stephen King Dollar Baby film called I Know What You Need, his story that takes place at the University of Maine. So I actually got to shoot on location, and I actually got to sleep in Stephen King's dorm room. If he was going to the University of Maine in 1966 at 19, it's very possible that he could have written The Long Walk in the very room that I slept in. Do you know how happy that makes my constant reader heart? Do you know how happy? Very fucking happy. So I just want you to just take a second to consider for 1 second. You wrote a novel at 19. It is made into a movie when you are 77 years old. Now, Stephen King's college days were famously fraught with a lot of war protests going on for the Vietnam War, and this book, The Long Walk, is definitely a Vietnam War allegory, a death march with no point, basically. Although there are a lot of references to pop culture and food and drink in this story that are real, in true Stephen King fashion, they are on another timeline in this story than Keystone Earth. America was bombed during World War II in this timeline, but they also were fighting with the Germans in Chile, and there's all sorts of hints that we get to this bigger universe. Go then, there are other worlds than these. There's a quote to start every chapter. They are all from game shows. So you have to remember, he wrote this in 1966. So the idea of a game show with death as the prize was very, very new. Now, there is a movie from 1965 called The 10th Victim, which has a televised game show death hunt concept, which you should check out. There was another film version that was going forward with Frank Darabont directing. Now, Frank Darabont was also a Dollar Baby filmmaker. That's how Stephen King met him way back when. That's how long Stephen King was doing his Dollar Baby program for. And then he also directed The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption and The Mist. So he is legit one of the best Stephen King directors. So I remember hearing that he was going to do an adaptation, how excited I was for that, but it did not go through. How do you think Darabont's version would have been different?